and I can do the same. And we'll have a good
Okay, you ready?
That wasn't recording, was it?
I will see. Welcome back.
Hey, welcome back.
We made it. We made it to a second episode.
I am shocked at how well received our first episode was. So thank you to our friends and family for, affirming our test episode. And
they did affirm it way more than I expected.
Way more than I expected too. So, hey.
So welcome back to the XYZ.
Yeah, welcome back.
It is still, unfortunately, XY without a Z today, but so our friend Stella has returned. She's filling in.
Well, let's rename her Zella. Because I think that's appropriate. Yeah.
She's filling in until we get some special guests with us, but we didn't want to wait. We wanted to keep the momentum going.
Yeah, people were looking for the next episode, so we can't let our fans down, I guess.
So hungry. But today's going to be fun, I think, because we want to talk about slang.
Slang. Yes.
Generational slang. And that's going to be a hoot.
And really how this came about and how I think a lot of our podcast episodes are going to come about is kind of just what we chat about during the week, quite frankly. And that's how we landed at slang.
Yes, because it came up naturally in a conversation with many of us
with
regarding
X, Y, and Z folks.
Yeah. X, Y, Z, and then some, talking about the trends that are emerging all over different channels, YouTube and TikTok and whatnot. And I literally needed a decoder ring to understand half of it, and then that took us down this path of, oh my God, let's just talk about the obvious and have some fun with it.
Let's have some fun. So today's That's So Fetch, slang, sayings, and societal shifts. So welcome back. I'm Mary, your Generation Xer.
And I am Shannon, Generation Wire, as they say. So let's start with the slang. Let's start. What speaks to you as an Xer? When we think Gen X, slang, terminology, what comes to mind for you?
Well, I'll say, right now I have absolutely no clue, what's happening in the world right now. And that's not a judgment. But if people are giving me Riz or any of that stuff, I have no clue what they're saying.
Okay, so you're not caught up.
So I'm definitely not caught up. I probably haven't been caught up in a good 20 years or so. Maybe tangentially, but so I don't know. It really lends you to think about where did all these? How did these things come about? What's lasted over the years?
Yeah.
What kind of fades away? And I don't know. It's really kind of interesting. So
it does take you down a path. First, it brings you back to what are those things we said, and then you start to think about, well, what was the reason for saying where did it all come from? We talked about last week, these things, these stereotypes about gender, they don't come out of nowhere. They don't fall from the sky. Mm-mm. Although, frankly, they feel sometimes as alien and crazy as if they would have fallen from the sky, but that's not what happens. They come from a real place.
Yeah, they come from what's happening in society. I think what's happening in pop culture particularly.
Yeah.
And so when I think about some of those sayings that were popular when I was a kid, definitely from movies, right? Gag Me with the Spoon was Valley Girls, I think. That was the emergence of mall culture and all those that was happening at the time. Just pop culture with TV. I think there's some things with The Simpsons that I think are still on.
Simpsons are still on, absolutely.
How long is that? And those are some sayings that have just stuck and stayed through. So I don't know. It's really quite interesting.
My favorite thing about Gag Me with a Spoon is that the noun at the end is so interchangeable. So it's gag me with a spoon, gag me with a telephone pole, gag me with it could be anything that's gonna, and the bigger the more gagging I guess it's gonna invoke. But I always loved that one. That one was special.
Yeah, that one was in the vernacular, but I can't say that I used it on the regular. No.
Well, what did you use?
I remember psych being a big one.
Psych's a good one. I say psych a lot now.
Oh, so that's one
that's a staying power one.
That's stayed power.
Maybe not with all circles, but I say it all the time.
I think my generation too, just in line with some of the apathy or the sarcasm,
Yeah.
like whatever was a big one.
Yeah, you guys were a little bit sardonic. Like it was too cool, too legit to quit.
Oh, there
stuff.
you go. Yeah.
Take a chill
the
pill.
MCM.
Yeah.
Yeah, take a chill pill.
Like whatever, man.
A
little stoner culture, a little bit. I mean, there were a lot of
that
things.
was definitely the 70s, like groovy and like
Well, I didn't
whatever.
say groovy. I didn't take it that far.
Like, man.
I didn't take it that far. All right, I added.
But we could take it back to that.
We
like,
could. We could. We do need a boomer representation here to talk us through some of that. Although I think it's worth noting too, like you said, these are usually reflective of where people are at in time, which means a lot of language, a lot of slogans, a lot of slang is problematic later. Like, even if I think back on millennial vernacular, some of it is like, oh my God, like we were really heavy-handed on certain things that are terrible now. Like, you would never say those things. And I think the further back in time you get, the more troubling some of that language becomes,
nowadays,
obviously.
Yeah.
Just with, people
we
being much more sensitively aware. And all of
and you just know better now. Yeah.
But I mean, the thing I think about that I thought was interesting when I was just doing some deeper thinking about language was, like you mentioned, yes, it's reflective of pop culture and where we're at the moment in time socially. I think there's also this more like intrinsic sociolinguistic thing. So this like need to belong as part of a group.
Like an identity.
It's identity forming. But then there's almost this paradox of like, you adopt all of this language unofficially, informally, and you do that so that you feel like you're part of a tribe, you're part of a community, you can interact and connect with your peers and friends. But then on the same lens, it's like each generation has pride in their language, making them stand apart. So there's this like, I'm fitting in, but this defines us so that we're different too.
Well, because when you're young, it's unintentionally intentional, I think is maybe one way of putting it. A lot of this slang that emerges with young people is intended to be rebellious in a lot of ways, right? So it's like our parents, they don't know what we're talking about.
Right.
Just totally true right now, because I have no idea what like 10-year-olds are talking about at the moment. But then that becomes part of your identity as you grow older.
Yeah.
And then it's really embarrassing, like if you catch yourself like throwing out a slang word as a Gen Xer among his years.
Yeah, that's a dangerous thing.
That just dates you, and you're try hard. You're just trying too cool.
You're just trying too hard. No, in any generation, trying too hard is never going to work.
It usually backfires.
I think the other thing that's obvious but worth noting is the shifts in the generational speech patterns are obviously tied to technology. So if you think about, I guess, my generation, we came of age with the digital age. So I think we get credit for creating the meme, technically, which would make sense.
Kudos for you, because we have a lot of fun with memes.
You're welcome. So we learned how to shorten our speech and how to truncate things and codify things. But then I now look at Gen Z and Gen Alpha, like because of TikTok, because of the fact that everything's gotten smaller and smaller and smaller, and the space to communicate has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. Like, they have absolutely mastered this alphabet soup of
it makes sense. So like when you were a teenager, like internet came out, like dial-up internet, right? And so so the practice at that time was, okay, like make sure that the computer, it's like one computer in the family and it's in a central location so mom and dad can monitor.
Yeah.
So you kind of had to come up with code.
You did.
So
yeah. Because, you leave your away message on.
Because,
anyone, like, and you had to kind of speak in this weird...
With, acronyms for things and, so that totally makes sense.
That tracks, for sure. So, like, I think, and now we're here.
So what did you guys create? Like, what's stuck?
For me, there's a lot. I was doing some real soul searching on this lately. I think there's a couple things. There's... depending on your preferences, obviously, there were some heavy pop culture influences in the Gen Y population. So think of phrases like, that's what she said. You know, for me, incredibly pivotal. But I think transcends now almost any generation because it stands for everyone knows what it means and its influence on it.
And where'd that come from?
That came from The Office.
From The Office. And I feel The Office is like a bit of a pop culture phenomenon, right?
Is,
so I think like Gen Zers
adopted it.
Love it and follow it, even though it's been, it's been
off the air for 15
forever.
years already.
Yeah. So
there were a lot of things. Sticks. There was like later. No, there were a lot of.
Well, what are some of the acronyms? Let's just stick with the acronyms.
Okay.
Like FOMO.
Yeah. So FOMO, fear of missing out. YOLO, you only live once. LOL, laugh out loud. One of my favorites, LMAO, laughing my ass off. One of the classic.
Which was so sneaky back in the day.
Fresh. And then the one that I remember typing into messages as a high schooler was ROFTL. No, ROTFL. Do you know that? Do you think you know what that is? OTFL.
ROTFL. Rolling on the floor laughing.
Correct.
Yes.
Rolling on the floor laughing. Sometimes you would merge ROTFLMAO. Rolling on the floor laughing my ass off.
Oh, so that's like next level funny. So you nailed it.
So that was one of my favorite ones. So like it was
that. What were some of the ones that were giving your friends like the heads up the parents were in the room? So you can't like really like.
I mean, I was not a naughty.
Oh, that's true.
I
weren't a naughty girl. We have to get like a naughty
I don't think
person.
I was advanced enough to think about that. FYI though, I mean
that's
FYI also transcends every facet of life. So for your information, so it could be like FYI, parent in the room. I don't know what that would be. I don't know. I'm sure someone can tell us what's the best way to notify.
But I use FYI just in my speaking language.
Yeah.
Hey, just FYI.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
But it started somewhere.
I mean, I love it because it's like you don't need to do anything with it. Just put it in the back pocket. Just for your information. No action required like that.
I think at some point, too, our generation started just the shorthand dictionary that came, I think, on that cusp between corporate world and social life. So it was like TY for thank you, YW for you're welcome, end of day, EOD. Mm-hmm. Like those things have have all merged into like normal speech. They're not just for office behavior anymore. And so I'm probably going to have to credit a lot of Gen Y for that too, because we brought that shorthand knowledge into the workforce and now we're pulling it back out.
See? I don't know. People give millennials the bad rap.
Look at what we've given the world.
You've given the world a lot.
I think there's some other expressions that millennials used to say, like, I can't even, which I love. I never said I can't even. My favorite was I can't. Like, I couldn't even finish the sentence. I was so verklempt. Like, I can't.
And then it keeps people guessing. She can't what? Like, what is it exactly that she can't do?
And it signifies, like, you can't even understand what this person is going through, or I can't deal with this. Like, it was such a...
leaves it open to such a wide...
It was such a versatile little tool.
So I know we didn't chat about this before, but I think this whole conversation has me even thinking about the emergence of the Urban Dictionary.
Yes, which came out like early aughts. So yeah, it all fits because
it's so fun.
Because it tells you how quickly it was changing if you need an Urban Dictionary. Like, you need an Urban Dictionary because the way people were speaking around you was just completely foreign to most. And you wanted to be part of it. And I need some
reference. I need to refer to something to help me understand.
I mean, and some of it was so outrageous and laughable that, like, you needed to have some sort of interpreter. I loved it.
Is that still a thing?
It's got to be a thing. Yeah. I mean, it's on the web. It doesn't go away. It's somewhere.
I'll look that up.
We got to look for it.
Yeah.
All right. So you have your Gen X favorite things. I have some Gen Y things I hold on to dearly. What about Gen Z? And worse, Gen Alpha. Because
no idea.
I'm like starting to experience the Gen Alpha thing with my almost 10-year-old.
Yeah, can you throw out, because all I know is Riz. That's no Riz. I don't even know what that means.
So Riz,
I don't want to know what that means.
Riz means like your aura, your vibe, like
okay.
Your presence. Basically, it's executive presence. If you want to translate it to adult speak, it's like, wow, that person has some serious Riz. Like, you're just owning the space. Maybe you got good energy.
Like legit.
Yeah.
So
or
just
legit.
another way. So here we go. So I really don't think there's like
anything new under the sun.
Concepts.
No.
It's just how we're talking about it, right?
I think the Gen Alpha world is so beyond my comprehension still at this point. But there's so many references to these YouTube creators. So like Skibbity, and which is, I'm not even going to do it justice by explaining what it is, but it's a YouTube channel of just toilet seats. That's what it is. And speaker box heads and replacing where a human head should go.
So it's a little bit back when maybe Gen Z was growing up, that annoying orange.
Similar to that.
Similar?
Correct.
Okay.
Like, where the most we could do with technology was putting, like, the lips. It's the same thing.
That's all they did.
Again, there's nothing new under the sun. It's just, like, different versions of the same nonsense.
And to me, like, Skibbity sounds something like World War II language.
like military, like...
No, just, like, what was popular. Like,
how they spoke to each other.
How they spoke
like, why
to each
I
other.
oughta.
Yeah.
It is a little bit like that. And no one knows what it actually means or if it even has a real meaning to it. But,
well, it must be used in a sentence somehow. Or what sentence might be pushing it.
Sentence is generous. It's more like... I wish I knew, but it's like... It refers to something being kind of chaotic. Like, that's Skibbity. Like, that's like Skibbity AF.
Okay, well, AF I know.
AF we know.
Because, the F is one of my favorites.
Yes.
Spans generations.
So but like the alphas are rough. I mean, that's a tough space to navigate right now with like the middle school language. One of my favorite like memes or things to see online are the middle school teachers who just share the words they come across every day because it's a war out there.
That should be a guest that we have on.
We need a middle school teacher.
Definitely need a middle school teacher.
Because
how about
they're
we get
going
the middle
through
school
it.
teacher of the year? We know him.
We do know that.
All right, yeah, because I think that would
we
be
do
really
know the
important.
Danbury, Connecticut teacher of the year.
Teacher of the year.
We're gonna have to invite him because he's gonna have a lot.
He's got
of
a lot
context.
to opine on this.
Oh, great
topic,
idea!
for sure,
All right, stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned.
We haven't asked him at all, so he might flat out reject us. But
I think my understanding, he has a podcast too.
Oh, Merging of the Worlds. Okay.
With his students. So
what if we get a student?
maybe we can merge this whole thing.
Oh my
It'd
goodness.
be kind of cool.
It's all coming together.
Anyway, it's all something to think about. So I know we're talking about language and but other modes of communication, you alluded to it before, memes, but then the memes and then emojis. Let's talk about emojis for a minute.
Emojis are fascinating. So
and like various meanings of emojis that boomers and Gen Xers might not know.
I think
it
there's
can get you in some trouble sometimes without you realizing it.
Some generational challenges with emojis.
I agree.
So for some reason, the boomer generation really likes emojis.
I like my emojis. I love my Bitmoji. I have a lot of fun with my Bitmoji.
A Bitmoji more than the average person.
I love it.
Your Bitmoji looks exactly like you.
Oh, cool.
Which is
well, it's one of the reasons I like it because I can kind of change out, like, is this a good color for me or is this my outfit? Like this, I just tested out on my Bitmoji. So.
Okay, I mean it's not that accurate. You shouldn't be using it as like a
my fashion sense.
But you do use yours a lot.
I love it.
But I mean, if I think about how my mom used to communicate with them, or I have a couple other aunts, we have some family members, we have people in our circuit who are heavy on the emoji communication, and it always cracks me up because it's like you do really need to pay attention to what each one means, but in some ways it is a very efficient way to convey something. Like you're saying a lot more with a picture than you are with words.
True.
So while it's hilarious that this person sat there and picked through all of the different options,
some are fun just to like browse through.
They are. I mean, they keep expanding the inventory constantly. I mean, I have my go-to set of emojis. Yeah. I mean, what are your top used emojis right now?
So,
I'll look
right now, I have a lot of graduation ones because a lot of people in my world had people graduating. But hold on, let's see.
Look at your most used right now.
So I have laughing, a sad face, double pink hearts, rain of various.
Oh,
because that's
the weather,
been pretty crappy weather. Head smack because that's and also a lot of things that I share. I've got some like smiley with star eyes, lots of birthday ones because I'm always wishing people happy birthday. birthday cake, the birthday smiley guy, the little celebration horn.
The horn is heavily used, yeah.
Red wine.
Yep.
I got that.
Yep. But those are good. Those are reflective of you. I mean, mine are similar. I feel like the one I use the most are the double eyes.
Oh, I got that one.
The double... This guy? No, the just the eyeballs that are looking at you like, what is happening?
Oh, yeah.
That's my heaviest use.
I have eye roll. I mean, I do have...
Eye roll is good.
I don't use it that often, though. But obviously, recently I have. The
one that for roughly 15 years I thought were praying hands are two hands doing a high five, actually, is what they are. Really? I just learned that, like, a couple weeks ago. But I think it has kind of become unofficially
really?
a prayer.
I'm gonna look that up. If I put a prayer, if I type
it
prayer,
comes up. I know,
prayer.
But I have been corrected. For someone, it's supposed to be this, the meeting of a high five.
So I think high five is this now.
And that is like praise, I thought. So I mean, a lot of different interpretations.
It's kind of the same.
It's all the same.
It's all positive.
It's all the same.
Energy, right?
I mean, the other one that I have that I use a lot is the 100 with the underline.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's like, I am with you definitively. Like,
I'm all in.
I'm in. And then, let's see.
I have a bunch of flowers and stuff because it was Mother's Day recently.
Yeah. And I've merged into sticker usage, which is, you create your own stickers by like using your own photos and stuff. And that cracks me up.
Do that?
Oh, it's complicated.
Oh, okay. That's okay.
Walk you through the steps.
That's another thing we won't bore our
I'll walk you through the steps. All right. So let's talk about Gen Z for a second, because we had some early inputs from Gen Zers in our life to some of their phrases right now. And there's a lot of amazing videos done out there of like Gen Z speech. My favorite one being the Gen Z couple breaking up and they're only using the Gen Z words to each other. And it is one of the... I watch it like once a week because it will never stop being funny. But one of the preferred phrases or most common ones is, it's giving... ... So
it's similar to I can't ...
Kind of, except what you're trying
just
to
put anything
say
at the end there.
Is, this is evoking
something.
Right. It's giving depressed. Or it's giving Marilyn Monroe. Or it's giving
finish it with whatever you want.
Garfield because you're eating lasagna. Like you could do like all sorts of things with it, which I love the versatility. I love it. They also came up with slay. So that's like, good job, Gen Z, I guess, because everyone tries to use that appropriately or inappropriate. I'm not sure who says you slay me. It's a little too on the nose. Like
that slayed.
Sure. I think it's more like you come out in like a fancy dress and you could just be like, slay. Like, you killed it.
But like, what if I thought you killed it?
You would
say...
let's
say you you always slay, Shannon. When you show up to parties. So like,
thank you.
If I wanted to say to somebody like, she slayed it, I can't say that.
You can say anything. But to your point, someone might be like boo, bad usage. It might not work well. The one that I've never mastered is the no cap. I don't even know what that means.
So it means like... I've heard of it, but I don't know what it means.
No lie. Like, I'm for real. So for real, that was a big Gen Y one. That's a millennial one. I say for real constantly. It's the same thing as no cap, but for whatever reason they say no cap.
What's the genesis of the no cap, though?
No idea. So it would be like, I'm serious. I'm not lying to you. I don't know why they can't say that, but it's no cap. Like, I just lost $150,000 at the casino, no cap. Okay, I feel like that warrants you saying the complete sentence, I'm serious, but I don't know why or where it came from.
So if I wanted to say, so let's just use that example. Yeah. So what if you said, I lost $100,000 at the casino? I would say, are you serious? Mm-hmm. You're not lying. So would I say... And I'd say dead ass no cap. And would I say cap or no cap?
You could, if you wanted to really be with it, you'd say, are you cap or no cap? And I'd say, I'm being dead ass no cap.
Slay.
The other thing I love that Gen Z does really well is they do this not it thing, where if something isn't good, or if it's not giving the right energy or not what you want, they just go, "That's not it."
I like that. It's direct.
And people are really clever with how they use it, and it always just makes me laugh. Actually, my sister uses she doesn't even say "not it." She just says "not" in front of something. So, like, someone will send a picture, a really unflattering one of her as a kid or something, and she'll be like, "Not the baby pictures." You're like, and it just infers like, "Oh God, like don't do that" type thing. And it's awesome. It's an awesome like indicator of how the person's feeling about something. So I love it. But let's talk a little bit about overdoing certain things.
Okay.
So I think about myself, and we talked about how millennials were probably responsible for the shorthand revolution. So I overdo the use of ha-has in my life, particularly in text communications, both like personally and I found professionally. So like if I'm in like a Teams chat with people, like ha ha, like to make sure that I'm conveying a sense of just chillness, like I'm all right, or I'm crazy.
Well, because we don't speak in person as frequently anymore.
Right.
We're either not in the offices or, one of the things we're going to unpack in a future episode is multi-generations in the workplace, right? And so my generation included, I like to talk things out and process things collaboratively, and not everybody likes to do that.
No.
So I see like how that can happen, because you can make a statement and you just want to make sure that the person reading the statement understands the tone behind it.
Right. And you do like everything you can to try to convey that, knowing still people are going to interpret things wrong almost 80% of the time.
Yeah.
But I know I overdo that. Do you overdo anything?
I probably overthink a lot of that. Like I find that I'm cautious in what I'm putting in Teams chats and emails. Because there is a gap.
There's a huge gap. Yeah.
And just being aware of that.
Yeah.
So what do I overdo? Well, I'm hearing like the thumbs up is like not okay to do.
So I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to talk about the things that
oh my God, like what if I did that and then like that's offending somebody? Like how does one keep up with the use of emojis
I
and
think
sayings?
That is hyper specific to the community you're a part of. So, because that will change. Like some groups of people you're with, it won't matter. But I feel like with others, it will.
It might.
And so you brought up a good point. The use of punctuation has become a whole subculture in and of itself. So I don't know if this is true for you or if you've even heard of this, but in chat in particular, or text in particular, if you use like a period after a short sentence, if you say, "I agree," or "Yes, that's fine," period, that period is signifying to everyone on that chat thread that you are pissed, that you are not okay, that you are being so punctuating with your thought that everyone's like, "Uh-oh, Shannon's pissed." Like just
using
a
like
period.
basic grammar.
It's basic grammar, presents a lot of questions.
That's good to know. I didn't know that.
Capitalizations of certain things also infers a lot. So if I capitalize my ha-has, that's because I'm actually laughing. But a lot of people will capitalize them and they will literally be sitting there and not even moving their face muscles. But like for me, it's real. So when I see someone else who's got like a big LOL or ha ha ha, I'm like, yeah. Even though they very well may be, someone who's just saying that. But I think there's all of this, reading behind the text that goes on. And it is a lot of overthinking.
It's too much for my brain, honestly. Like group chats particularly.
Yeah, group chats are tough. Yeah.
I'm out. I'm just going to give you the answer or take it offline. If like it's,
take it offline.
Like if it's like, I think it's helpful. Like, okay, if you're trying to manage a group and like we're going to meet at a certain place at a certain time. Yeah. But then like if I need to just communicate with like one person in that, then I'll take that offline.
Yeah.
And Yeah, because of some of this reason.
Yeah.
I don't have the time or the bandwidth because there's so much coming at. Like, I could have, like, literally 8 group chats happening at one time.
Yeah.
A Teams chat at work.
Yeah. It's overstim. Constantly. Overstimulation. Saying the ulation was just too tiring.
Too much.
It's too much work.
And then I have to think about it as a Gen Xer. Like, think about all these...
Yeah.
Like, oh, God, like...
Right.
I might be tempted to just give a thumbs up just to say, like, I got it.
Right.
Stop continuing with this group chat. And my friends know this.
Yeah.
They know I hate it. So I'm like, okay, you guys, I'm really not ignoring you.
Yeah. Well, the thumbs up is particularly offensive, I think. Because I've been in multiple chats where if you put a thumbs up and that's your only engagement, I've had people who are like, oh my God, just say you hate me then. Like... Because it really produces this sense of, like, that's all you could do.
And I look at it as, hey, I got the message, thanks. Like, we're good, like, understood.
This is the problem. This is the decoding that has to happen. But I don't know what the solution is for that, though. I don't think there is one. I think it's just, like, it is what it is. You can't really undo any of it. Oh, gosh, it's a lot of work.
So let's transition into, like, corporate jargon and how we operate in the workplace. And so one of my recent things along this line with the text messages is, I don't know, there's, like, big emails that are going out across multiple teams. And I love that Outlook just has the little, like, reaction. So
that was a new good feature.
That's a feature that I really embrace. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people I work with don't. So then my inbox is, like, flooded with, like, amazing.
Yeah.
Good job, team. I'm like, so now I got to rifle through, like, 20.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever, reply all messages that all are just saying, like,
good job.
Just affirming and
right.
Whatever.
Right.
I was like, that's what that little Outlook feature is, folks.
What I found interesting about that new feature when they rolled it out was how... Like, they kind of snuck it in like, an upgrade or something. And I noticed it when I think I had to send out something similar to that. And what I had been used to for my entire career was the flooding of responses. And then it didn't happen to the degree that I thought. And then it's when I saw, like
all the notifications.
And I was like, oh, like, 40 people liked this. But I only got, like, 2 email responses.
Oh, I wish that was my world. And I was
like, wow, okay, so that's changed. And then, you know, but then you're right. Like, it depends on the group. Sometimes people want to also have that affirmation and proof in their inbox that people were, like, screaming their name. And, you know, so I think it just depends.
Well, now it's just making me wonder. Like, should I not be doing the efficient, like, good for you, I see it, kudos, great team, but I don't need to respond to all... And nor do I want everybody responding all to me.
Well, and I think that's it. I think it's like, is it about visibility? Are you responding simply so that others can see you responding? You know, like, what's the political game, I guess, is the question that comes with that stuff. But that's the same thing with, like, the Teams chats or whatever platform you're on in a work environment. You know, any big announcements, like, you got to always weigh the political implications to all of it. Do you have to engage? Do you have, like...
Yeah.
I mean, it's exhausting on top of the
built-in emojis
meetings.
that are right there, like the reactions that are built into the chat. It's just what we use.
I mean, related to that, though, corporate-wise, like, if you have a funny comment, which, of course, is always... You got to know your audience in the work settings. But
always, if you make, regardless if you're in person or remote or whatever.
If you feel comfy and you make a funny statement in a Teams chat, that garners, like, a strong... 10 or more reaction, like, you feel good that day. Like, you are riding high. Like, you just slayed the work environment. And, I mean, it doesn't happen much. Like, when you get, like, that type of, like, communal response. I mean, how sad. This is really sad. Because if you were in person together, you would know if people thought your joke was funny. Right away. You wouldn't need to be like, how many likes did I get in my comment? You know, but... This is what we've been reduced to. So
it's a little too much. All right, so we're on the corporate.
Yeah.
So let's kind of... How does this overlay in the corporate world?
I mean, corporate jargon is brutal. That deserves an episode all to itself. That I think you and I could easily conduct in proper corporate speak if we wanted to. But I think the thing that I read earlier today when I was doing a little bit of research was millennials in particular mastered the code switching because we came of age in the digital world, because our first jobs required us to be both in person and figuring out what the hell was going on with the internet at the same time. We're really good at that ability to toggle between like social, corporate. And so my siblings, particularly my sister, used to make fun of me constantly because she would hear me working and she'd be like, what alien are you? Like, you have a completely different corporate voice. You have a completely different way of talking. But then I log off and it's like back to normal. And that's the code switching that I think particularly my generation got really good at.
I think everybody has to, though.
And now I think, especially after COVID and how everyone was literally simultaneously in two worlds at once, everyone had to get better at it. Or maybe just the gap is less, too.
I think for my generation and boomers, it's what we talked about in the previous episode about like hierarchy and structure. And there is a way to do things.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of like corporate speak. I mean, people have it as, that's still a thing, like whole jobs where,
right,
you're an executive from one organization coming to another organization, and you have people whose job it is
onboarding you to
reprogram them to a new culture and jargon and language. And
this is how we talk about this. Yeah.
Yes. This exactly.
Yeah.
So there's that. One thing that sticks out in my mind when I was early in my career was Stephen Covey was the principles of the 7 effective principles of highly effective people guy. So like everybody was like Stephen Covey'd, right? Like he was and that's where like paradigm shifts and synergy and all those words come to play. So that's one like that really sticks out, and maybe that's just because it was early in my career, my first exposure to like a leadership philosophy that was really integrated itself in all organizations of all sizes. So
but that has staying power because that didn't go away. I mean, that I think in business-wise too, there's nothing new under the sun either. Like these are just each of those
on it.
Take on a slightly different approach, but it's the same concepts of how do we integrate, how do we synergize. How do we bring together all of our...
Align.
Yeah, how do we align? Oh, God. Are we aligned? Are we in lockstep? Are we tracking? Are we on the same page? Like, all of these things are natural, though. Like, they come out of my mouth a lot more than I wish they did. And
they're also effective ways to...
make a point.
To say, like, this is what needs to get done.
Right. So, I think...
Reframing.
Oh, God, reframing. Yeah.
Listen, I've used all these this week.
Yeah.
And it's only Wednesday.
I know. I think I used some this morning on a call. Yeah. I was able to, take an organization and transform it from transactional into strategic. What? What did I do? Yeah.
Did I really?
Yeah. So, it is a lot of fluff. So, I think So,
who are some of the thought leaders of today in that space?
Oh, geez, that's a good question. There's too many, first off. There's flooded, too many. Yeah. LinkedIn's birth meant the birth of a whole lot of clowns out there who like to tout a lot of nonsense. But I think there's a focus on sort of very human-first leadership philosophy.
Like Simon Sinek comes
to mind for sure. I think there's I don't know, of course I can't think of anyone else at the moment, but there's a lot of that bring your full self to work
authenticity
approach. Right. Be an authentic leader.
Which is a shift. So that's different true. With like language, because that really was not the thing, right?
Right.
We're gonna all like
speak the same thing.
And we're gonna dress a certain way if we're in this certain place, and we're gonna speak a certain way.
Yeah. I remember there was a stigma even when I started earlier in my career, because I worked at a place where a lot of people had come from P&G, Procter & Gamble, and I think they were, because they're a huge global company, there was like a leadership training program, which meant you go through this indoctrination, more or less, And any leader that gets spit out of that has a very structured way of approaching leadership in their teams and how they speak. And so there was always this like funny joke of like, oh, they got P&G'd.
Like you knew right away.
But you knew what that meant. Yeah. It meant they were very buttoned up. They always looked very professional. They were hyper organized, and they were like that. They were business.
And they probably used vernacular. Like this is about communication and language. They probably used a vernacular that you sniffed them out immediately. Right. And so it's very much just like language to that generation, right? Like this is your identity.
That's what their identity was. They wanted to be successful in that organization. They had to adopt that. And I think maybe that is, what you were saying, that may have changed. I think it's less follow this dogmatic approach to success, because there's a lot of ways to be a leader now. There's a lot of ways to be successful in a company. Ways, yeah. And if you want to have authentic people, you kind of need to give them that space to be themselves. But there's still very much a common language that threads through any company, no matter what. Like, that's the culture. That's the whole thing that you go on any interview with anyone, they all start to talk to you about. And you know, if you join that company, you got to get in line or the organism spits you out. That's just how it works. It's been around long enough to know that. Yeah, or you fake it till you make it, which I do think you get better at as you get older. For sure. And I'm curious to see if Gen Z will figure that out. Like, or if they won't, or if they will be the generation to say, no, I'm not going to conform to fit this. They already
are that.
I know. But like we were cop-outs a little bit, I think. Like we were sort of like, we're here to upend the world. But all of us are very much like now at that other end where we're like, fuck it. Like, listen, we only got 20 more years. Like, it's not worth it. Like, will they hit that point too? I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know.
Because it's too tiring to be like, no, I insist on fighting the system everywhere I go. I guess someone's got to.
I think older generations are afraid of them. So they kowtow a little bit. I don't know. Because they're coming up with this language we don't know anything about.
That we can't understand. Yeah. For example, one that I had written down that we didn't talk about yet was an expression for like if someone has a gun to your head. If someone is like, you gotta make the decision right now. Which I feel like you could just say that. Apparently there's a phrase, dick to crack. Don't understand it.
Wait, how do you spell that?
So apparently it's not even D-I-C-K to crack. It's like shorthand for that. So it's D-I-H. So it's dit to crack. And I'm probably saying it wrong and embarrassing myself completely, but I've heard about it.
I have never heard of this.
I don't understand it, but what it means is like gun to head, make a decision. What's it going to be? So that's happening somewhere in some generational pocket far below me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if I'm trying to buy a car and the salesman's like, you gotta...
Yeah. Imagine if a salesman says, "Dick to crack, make it happen."
Yeah, like I can only get you this deal like in the next
Memorial Day weekend. Yeah.
And then I would go home to my husband and say,
"Yeah,
this dude is what is it? Dick to crack."
I don't think that's how you use it.
Oh well, I would say this guy's got a gun to my head.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and then your husband would say, He asked you to make a decision, did it crack? And you'd be like, yeah. I mean, it's nonsense. I was just remembering one of my favorite things that is sort of intergenerational, I hear, is how we always used to say, like, say no more. Like, I'm locked in on you. Like, yes. The new thing to say is, say less. Literally the opposite, but saying the exact same thing. Exact same thing. But it's like the words are completely opposite, completely opposing words saying the exact same thing. So sometimes it feels like the generations just got to make a change to make a change.
Say no more just means you said it all and I'm locked
right.
in.
And
say less is like a little insulting.
It can be, but it's actually super affirming. It's meant to be like, you don't need to say another word. You didn't even need to say everything you just said. Because I am with you.
Okay.
Weirdly, like, empowering. But yeah, to your point, on the surface, it's like, what do you want me to say less for? Like, okay? It's stressful, I think, is the nut here. It's stressful to figure out the linguistics of our modern age. And it makes you want to just go run for the hills and sit in silence
I am going to say less.
I know.
And a lot of people in my life would probably be really happy about that.
I mean, or not. Or not. All right. So what are the things we still want to tackle here?
I don't know. I feel like we unpacked a lot here.
We did unpack a lot. I think.
What's stuck, though? So, like, where's there
what are the
overlap?
lasting?
Yeah, what's lasting?
There's probably more than we can think about. But I think of the general things, like. So one, like is an actual word that has a purpose to communicate comparison. But it's been used, Gen X used it heavy in the Valley Girl phase.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It then got, I think, a makeover in the 90s and early aughts again, where it kind of came back in very similar effect. And everything was like this, and it kind of had this up-talk thing. And then
Which was very rooted in that.
Which was rooted in Valley Girl, but it was like 15 years later. And then now, having lived in Europe, actually, speaking of this, a lot of people look on Gen Z and young millennials with this, like, skeptical eye because of the sound of their voice. Not necessarily what they're saying, but it's this up-talk that we do. And it did start, like, for those who were in high school in, like, the late 2000s. And what I mean by that is you hear it, they'll talk a little bit like there's a question at the end of everything they say. Like, do you know what I mean? And there's just this up speech to it, this rhythm that kind of... And it's terrible to hear when you hear it. And when you're immersed in it, you don't pay attention to it. But I had so many colleagues who would be like, can you do that accent, like, just for fun? Like, can you do it? And I'd be like, what do you mean?
What are you talking about?
I'd be like, what are you talking about? That one? Like that? And they'd be like, oh my God, why does every American talk like that? And I was like, I mean, that's not fair. But they're onto something, because there is at least a cohort within the low millennials, high Gen Zs that do have this very odd vocal phenomenon. It's called vocal fry, is the actual scientific word for it.
Okay. I'll listen to that.
It's weird that it only affected this pocket.
And is that woven in with the overuse of the word like?
It can be.
I find myself using like inappropriately, or just as a filler.
It's a filler word, yeah.
Or, when I'm really excited and hyped up and just talking really fast and just like usually ranting about something is when I notice that it
pops up
more.
It's just a filler. I mean, if you go to any speech pathologist, like they deal with this from like the onset of language with 4-year-olds. Like, it is a filler word and it's natural. But it then served a much, larger role, I think, later. It was to convey this attitude and sort of like, what do you mean? Like it... And
like as if.
Yeah. I mean, so that one stuck around, but in different versions. I think cool.
Cool. I mean, that's been around probably in the 50s. Right?
Probably.
Yeah.
But it hasn't ever really changed.
No.
And I feel like it doesn't have a bad rep anywhere.
No.
Like, I've heard every generation be like, all right, cool. Cool. There was a point of time, I remember, in early college where people were saying cool, K-E-W-L. Be like, cool. Cool. I'm not saying that was a popular one, but I remember it. And being like, Thankfully, that one faded away.
So they just tried to tweak, just made it their own.
No. But, I mean, that has staying power. I mean, what else is there? Anything else come to mind?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to know, right? Because
we're kind of in it.
We're in it.
I think dope. I'm gonna own dope as one that has transcended at least three
millennials. Yeah,
I mean,
That's
it started
not something I ever used,
but it started with you guys,
Yeah, I never used that.
Millennials used it. I didn't use it then. I was for sure not cool enough. I use it now.
It started in Gen X.
Definitely. The word dope. Rad. Dope.
Oh.
Like,
rad. Yeah.
It was all part of that sort of culture of like graffiti letters. Then I think it was around during skater emergence for me. And then now it's still around too. I say that's dope now more than I should, but definitely more than ever, which tells me it's got some type of staying power. What else?
Well, one that's steeped in like movie culture is anyone? Anyone? Bueller?
Well, speaking of that, it's kind of a nice tie-in, and maybe this can be one of our last anecdotes, because I think we have a funny story about that in particular.
Oh, yeah.
That ties in modern technology, the use of shorthand. So let's bring us back in the time machine to 2002. Mm-hmm. And I was a senior.
April 4th, 2002 to be exact.
I was a senior in high school, and it was an especially important time of year because it was approaching prom, and I was a senior. It was all exciting.
College decisions. That's all I talk about for seniors in high school.
Yeah.
In April. Yeah.
There's a lot going on. And
sports banquets, who made the varsity spring team, who's captain. Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot.
And we were one of those houses that had the single computer for 6 people.
But everybody did then.
The dial-up. Yeah. And we had a pretty strict policy because we only had one phone line that you do not leave Instant Messenger on overnight.
You don't stay connected to AOL.
Like, you do not need to be on AOL overnight. That was the rule. That was frequently ignored because my bedroom was downstairs. I was the only one who had a bedroom downstairs. And so I would pop on after everyone else went up. And I would
you said you were naughty, but I don't know. That was a little naughty for the day.
And what I should have done was have my last conversations and sign off. But on that particular day, I left up an away message. And my one regret is I don't remember what my away message said at the time, but I can promise you it was not profound. But I probably spent a great deal of time crafting it. And I put the away message up and I went to bed. And something woke me up that night. Guilt, I guess, is what it is, that I had done this naughty thing. And I shot up 3 o'clock or something in the morning, and I went out to the family room.
Because the glow of the computer was probably woke you up.
Yeah. And I opened up and I see I have notifications, which typically brought joy and excitement. This time I saw it was from your husband, my uncle. And I was like, oh shit. And let's quick context break. You were 10 months pregnant. Mm-hmm. And my mom was supposed to be the one to watch your son.
Overnight. She was the overnight person. So the deal was that the daytime on call people were my in-laws. Mm-hmm. But the overnight person was your mom. Mm-hmm. Because she was closest for overnight.
Right. Yeah. And so I saw that name, and I'm not dumb, and I knew all of this. And I opened up the messages, and I see, Shannon, are you there? 5 minutes later, question mark. Another one. Then anyone?
Bueller?
Bueller? And my heart is stopping because now I'm seeing that it started at 12:31 or whatever the time was, but I'm like, oh no, like this has been sitting here. So
this is before people had cell phones readily available. You know,
there was no other way to get in touch.
Really, the only way at that point, which is really not that long ago if you think about it.
It's really not.
It's 23. It wasn't standard like today where everybody has their phone attached to them morning, noon, and night. Like most people just got phone calls through their landline.
Yeah.
And if your landline was being taken up by the internet,
that was it. So I panic. I call upstairs, wake my parents up, and this is how lame I was. I was like, Dad, I think Aunt Mary's trying to get a hold of you. And they're like, how do you know? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know how.
I had a dream.
They're like, what? What?
Ferris Bueller told me.
And so then eventually I was like, Uncle Will messaged me. I accidentally left my away message up, whatever. So of course my mom was furious at me, and long story short, baby was delivered, no harm done. But in
the nick of time. Because we did have to call my in-laws, and they did have to drive a distance.
This caused a problem.
And I did almost deliver in the elevator. But, she's fine and doing great.
Yes.
But that's where Bueller, anyone, transcends time. Like, we know what that means.
We know what it means. And not just because I love that movie, but because everyone knows what that is. It's from Ferris Bueller, for anyone who's confused. It's a hilarious scene.
But people know it. That younger generations who may have never even seen the movie know what that means.
Hello?
Like, anyone?
Hello?
Anyone? Yeah.
Right. I see it in team meetings, too. People who have a sense of humor, if it's dead quiet after, like, any questions or any thoughts or who wants to go first,
Bueller?
Someone will be like, Bueller? Anyone? And sometimes that'll break the ice. Like, it really does work. But all those, all the meetings of the world come together there. AOL, dial-up, instant messenger, away messages.
Sayings. Yeah.
All of it.
All comes together.
Oh. Well, I think we have a lot to learn from Gen Z and Gen Alpha. I think we absolutely need to get Teacher of the Year on here with maybe even a student, or we'll just find a middle schooler. Yeah. And I would love to have my son at some point give me a short list of the words he knows. He doesn't understand any of them, but he likes to use them.
Or does he just pretend to you that he doesn't know it?
I don't think because typically he says them, and then I react, and then I'll be like, what does that mean? Because I'll be like, don't say that anymore. Like, his big thing was to call me a butt cheek lately, because apparently there's a skibbity something butt cheek. Like, there's a phrase.
I need to do more research on this skibbity.
I don't advise it. And so I'm like, stop calling me a butt cheek. Like, for the love of God, don't call me a butt cheek anymore. Like, we all have butt cheeks. It's not even that interesting of an insult or whatever it is you're trying. He's like, I don't even understand. Like, I don't know. I'm like, well, then don't say things that you don't understand. Right. And he just doesn't, because he's seeing them or he's hearing them amongst his peers. Yeah. And he's not going to be like, hey, can you explain the genesis of what you just said to me? Even though he should. But so I think we need to do some research. We need to get some guests on here to help us further decode. But I think we've done a good job today.
I think we did a great job. It was kind of fun going down memory lane of some of these words that we used on the regular once upon a time in our life.
I did. Once upon a time, it's for sure.
So gnarly.
We were really adulting it today. That was a new phrase. That was a Gen Z thing. Yeah, like, adulting is hard. Like, okay, it is. But
get over it.
Get over it. Back to your attitude. The Gen Z, we don't give a F.
Deal with it.
Just deal with it. Get it done. All right. Well, on that note, let's come back next week and talk more generational topics.
Okay.
And see what else we can unpack.
Okay. Can't wait.
Cool. Till then. Till next time. Bye.